Hi guys, welcome to the channel of love. Okay, I want to try and get chapter 8 finished this evening and not leave such long gaps. How to Raise Your Own Salary by Napoleon Hill. We have Jasper on the table. He's come up to listen, to study time. Okay, here's our marker where we was. Okay, I'm going to carry on from here. Hill. From your analysis of the emotion of sex, I get the impression that this emotion may be either man's greatest asset or his greatest liability, according to his understanding and application of the emotion. Carnegie, you are exactly right in your assumption, and now I wish to call your attention to another significant fact. The emotion of sex, without the modifying emotion of love, as it is expressed in illicit sex relationship, is man's most dangerous influence. When these two great emotions are expressed jointly, they become a creative power which savours of a spiritual nature. Hill. Then I take it from your remarks that the emotion of sex, without the modifying influence of the emotion of love, is purely a biological force that may be disastrous if it is not controlled. Carnegie, you have the idea, but let me tell you something about the method by which this emotion should be controlled. The safety valve consists in the principle of transmutation, through which this great driving power may be converted and placed back of one's definite major purpose. When used in this manner, it becomes a priceless asset even without the modifying influence of the emotion of love. The emotion of sex will not be denied some form of expression. As I have stated, it resembles a river in that it can be dammed up and its powers diverted into whatever forms of action one desires, but it cannot be shut off from expression without great damage. Like the water of a river that has been dammed, if it is not released under controlled conditions, it will break out by the sheer force of its own inherent power in ways that are destructive. This is a fact well known to all doctors and psychiatrists. Uncontrolled emotions of love and sex are responsible for most of the mental disorders and many forms of insanity. So you see that self-discipline, through which these powers are guided into safe channels of human endeavour, is the only sensible solution of the problem they present. Hill. Inasmuch as the emotions of love and sex appear to have first place in the powers over which one should exercise self-discipline, will you now analyse their influence in the practical affairs of daily life? I wish further enlightenment as to the part these emotions play in the essential factors of human relationship in all walks of life, as far as you can describe them. Carnegie. That is a sensible request. So let us deal with it frankly, keeping in mind that any philosophy of individual achievement which is of practical value must enable people to surmount the practical problems of daily life, and I mean all the problems. As we have already seen, all human activity is based upon motive. It was not by chance that the motives of love and sex were placed at the head of the list of the 9 basic motives. That is precisely where they belong, because these two motives inspire more action than any other motives combined. The great literature, poetry, art, drama and music have their roots in the love motive. In Shakespeare's works, you will observe that both the tragedies and the comedies are highly coloured with the motives of love and sex. Remove these motives from the Shakespearean plays, and you would have nothing left but commonplace dialogue, no better than that of an ordinary playwright. You see, therefore, that these creative emotions can serve the highest purpose in literature. The accomplished orator, in whatever field of endeavour he may be engaged, gives colour and magnetic force to his words by transmuting the emotions of love and sex into enthusiasm, and thus does he impart feeling through the spoken word. I have heard orations which were masterpieces in both their theme and their perfect English, yet they failed to impart feeling, because the orator marshalled his thoughts from his head instead of his heart. He put no feeling into his words because he either lacked emotional capacity or was ignorant as to its use. No author ever writes a line in which he does not convey to the reader the exact state of his own mind, whether he writes from his head or his heart, and all the king's horses and all the king's men could not prevent the reader from detecting in his writing the presence of emotion or the lack of it. Perhaps the greatest example of this truth in all literature may be found in the Bible. No one can read a single paragraph from the Bible without catching something of an emotional feeling of its writer, although the actual meaning is sometimes beyond the possibility of accurate interpretation. No two people have ever been known to interpret the meaning of most of the contents of the Bible in exactly the same manner, but everyone who reads the Bible recognises the power of the emotional feeling it conveys. In ordinary conversation, everyone imparts, through the spoken word, the exact colouring of his own feelings, or his lack of feelings, and it is by this means that experienced observers of human character arrive at the actual state of mind of the speaker. As we all know, words often are used not to convey one's thoughts, but to conceal them. Therefore, the experienced analyst of human character judges people not by their words, but by the feeling or lack of feeling they unconsciously impart with their words. Jasper's just having a little cleaning session. I'm not sure if the microphone's going to pick that up. Okay. Jasper, 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 Jasper. Would you like to come down? Good boy. Come on. Come down for me. Come on. You need a little push to get along. Thank you. It is by this method that a woman's so-called intuition may, if she will be guided by it, enable her to distinguish the real from the false in man's words of proclaimed affection. When a man speaks from his heart instead of his head, his words carry connotations which no experienced woman will misunderstand, but she relies upon the feeling imparted by the words rather than the words. In view of these well-established truths, consider how important it is for one to understand and to use deliberately the power of emotion in speech and in writing, for it is a truth indeed that no man ever speaks a word or writes a line without consciously or unconsciously betraying the presence of his feelings or the lack of feelings, no matter what the construction of his words may be intended to convey. Hill, if I understand you, Mr. Carnegie, one's words are coloured by the nature of emotions, whether the emotions are positive or negative. Carnegie, that is true, but I wish to call your attention to the fact that the negative emotions, such as fear, jealousy, and anger, can be controlled and transmuted into a constructive driving force. It is through this sort of self-discipline that the negative emotions may be shorn of their dangers and made to serve useful ends. Sometimes fear and anger will inspire actions in which a man would not otherwise engage, but all actions growing out of negative emotions should have the modifying influence of the head, so they may be guided to constructive ends. Hill, should one submit both the negative and the positive emotions to the modifying influence of the reasoning faculty, or the head, as you express it, before expressing the emotions in action? Carnegie. Yes, this is one of the major purposes of the reasoning faculty. No one should ever, at any time, act on his emotions without first modifying his impulses of thought by submitting them to his reasoning faculty. This is the major function of self-discipline. As I stated at the beginning, self-discipline consists of a proper balancing of the powers of the head and the heart. The human ego, consisting, as Webster defines it, of the entire man considered as union of soul and body, should be the judge whose influence should be the determining factor as the circumstances and the extent that either the head or the heart should be given the greater influence in forming plans and making decisions. Self-discipline, then, should include a working arrangement through which the ego may throw its weight on the side of either the emotions or the reasoning faculty in connection with all expressions of either of these. Oh, we're at the end. That was a really short chapter. Okay, that surprised me. Okay, we'll end on this little quote then. Time is a relentless master. It forces everything and everyone to gravitate to where it belongs by its nature. Okay, chapter 9. Organise your thinking. But I will leave you today. That was such a short little read. 11 minutes, 46 seconds. Time is a relentless master. It forces everyone and everything. It forces everything and everyone to gravitate to where it belongs by its nature. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining me on this short little session. I did not even realise that there wasn't many pages left. Well, there you have it. A nice short session today. Okay, guys, I will catch up with you soon. And we are on to chapter 9. Okay, until then, take care. Much love. Bye for now.